is. Yeah, everything.
Okay, I'm going to tell this guy just starting. So I might get interrupted and have to let someone in. Okay, so, well, welcome to the Tennis String 101 presentation. My name is Nick Bennett. I'm a USPTA Elite Professional. I'm also a PTR Professional Level 2, and this is Tennis String 101. So thanks for joining in. We've got a lot to cover. And so we're going to just kind of really just jump right into this. And so I think I'm going to try to move my screen over. Yeah, see, this is what happens when you, all right. So there are so many variables that go into string construction, such as materials and shape. The presentation here that I have is designed to help coaches understand not necessarily the makeup of the string, but really how the gauge size and the type of string can help or affect play. So when you're picking string for yourself, or if someone comes to you and says, hey, I need you to string my racket, this is what I'm looking for, whether it's spin, playability, durability, feel, those are the types of things you can talk about and you'll get a better understanding to not only assist yourself but to assist others, because we really want to optimize our performance for our players that we coach, for ourselves as our own players, and for the consumer that you might not be coaching but need a racket being strong. So my objectives today are: how does string gauge affect playability? What does it do at different size gauges? Understand the difference between different types of construction, such as nylon and polyester. And I want you to leave and have a better understanding or a better knowledge of how to match customers with proper string for their game. That includes yourself. The one thing I skipped here is that I'm not talking really about the solid core, the multi-core wraps. There's way different types of constructions of the string, which in my opinion is a step past what we need to do. It would be like if we were needing to teach our kids algebra and we were trying to add calculus stuff. And it's good to know, for professionals, but is it necessarily needed? No, because people are not going to care if it's a solid core, multi-core with wraps and this and that. But that's a later on presentation I'm going to do on stringing 102 or 201. I haven't decided the name. Okay, the issues. So players look to tennis professionals for guidance on what strings to use, and it's important that we have that idea, even if we don't string tennis rackets, because it's part of what we should know as teaching professionals. We should know what strings are good for our players, because some strings, believe it or not, can actually harm our tennis players, and we definitely want to avoid that. We don't want to just throw things in there that don't fit the needs or the level of play for our players and our consumers. Okay, so they look for us. Strings have become probably the most important tool a tennis player can have. Having the right strings will help you maximize the production from the racket and help maximize your play. The other big issue of what I see is that many players don't know or have any idea what string or tension has been set up in their racket. So if you're stringing rackets for people, you really need to take an accurate record of this and keep that for them. So if they come back to you and say, hey, what did you put in my racket? This is what I put in. I just strung a few rackets this week. And I was like, okay, what are you looking for in your racket? I don't know. Well, what's in your racket? I don't know. You can't tell. And I'm like, I'm looking at the strings. There's no name. I'm like, I can kind of tell by pushing on it, but not really, because there's several hundred different types of string. And so I can't just look at it and say, hey, that's 16 gauge Wilson NXT. I just can't do that. And so it can be harder. They said, well, you've seen me play, so you know what type of string I need. Well, I see your level of play, so I know what to avoid. Like when this particular gentleman wanted polyester, and I'm like, well, I don't think you need a full bed of polyester, the whole racket. And I said, well, do you want better feel? Do you want playability? Do you need durability? What are you looking for? I don't know. You don't know? I'm like, well, no, I know what type of player you are and how you hit the ball, but I don't know what you're looking for. Do you like feel? Do you like a stiffer string? And I strung this guy's particular racket with a firmer string because he said it would just put a poly in it. And I was like, I'll use Solinco Tour Bite. And I gave it to him and he hit with it. He's like, I don't like the string at all. It's too stiff. And so I was like, okay. So I restrung it with something else. I called my rep, called another rep, another string rep. I'm like, hey, this is what I'm having trouble with this particular customer. I don't know really where to go. He was at 63 pounds with this poly, which is very high. And he was at 63 with his nylon string that I used. And I ended up putting a multifilament in, and he likes it now. But it was hard to do because I don't know what he was looking for. So that's a big issue I have. People just think, oh, just put any old string in there, and that's not what we need. We want to educate our players. So hold on one second. I have someone texting about the meeting. So I'm just going to take a quick pause here and share that with them. I'm sorry. I don't want to sit on my cell phone. I'm going to send that message. It should work. And that's the ID. One second. I'm sorry. I want to make sure this works. Maybe I can paste it. Was that? I think I just. No, I guess it's not going to work. Okay. Anyway, so those were the issues that I saw. And let's go ahead and keep going. So string gauge, and that's one of our goals. Say, what does string gauge do, and how does it affect playability? Because there's different types of string gauge. In the United States here, we go anywhere from 15 to 19 or 15 to 18. And so I'll show you on the gauge what I guess the European size would be. But gauge is the thickness of the string. And so, sorry, more people are texting about the meeting. So string gauge refers to the thickness. It's either in, the gauge like we have, 15 to 19, or in millimeters. So you might see that ALU 125, that big banger Luxilon string. String gauges range from 15 to 19. I just saw someone strung it at 14. And so I'm going to, hold on, I'm going to go ahead and pause the recording here for a second because we have some people. So hold on one second again. Let me go on here and see if I can. People are having trouble just kind of getting into it, this meeting. Let's try it again. Okay, and then if it doesn't. Sorry, one second. I don't know if I'll be able to pause that either. You had did you, can you unmute yourself and tell me, did you get in through the Instagram link?
Sorry, didn't hear you.
Did you get in through the Instagram link?
Yes, yes.
Are you on a computer or phone?
Computer.
Okay. Okay, so someone just got here. I gotta see. Okay, I think that is, okay.
Okay.
Okay, so it's the three of us. Bing, how are you? Can you hear me? Oh, he's connecting to audio. Bing, can you hear me? I think you're muted.
Am I good now?
Yep, I can hear. Hey, Bing. So if you have any questions, just go ahead and let me know. I'm going to put us over here on the side, so I'm going to continue on here. Thanks for joining us. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem, man. Wait, can you see me yet or no?
Nope, I just see your guys' names.
Okay.
If you guys have any questions, you can, interrupt me. You can use the chat bar at the bottom. I'll try to see it. I'm still a little bit novice at this.
Yeah, dude, this is my first time using this.
Oh, Zoom? Yeah. So, it's good. It's it's a great little software. If you scroll over the bottom, are you on your phone?
MacBook.
Okay, yeah. So if you hover over the bottom, if you have questions in the chat, Jared, can you hear me?
Of course.
Okay, great. So yeah, we just started, and it's Eleni. Is that how you say it?
Yes, Eleni or Elena or Elena, whatever you.
Okay. Well, I want to make sure I
Whatever.
get that right. So, yeah. So this is our Stringing 101 seminar, and so we'll go ahead. I'll close this out. We'll go ahead and continue. So, we just kind of talked about the introduction of this. You know, why we're doing this, and hopefully you guys can see my screen. It should be shared with you. If not, chime in. And a lot of it has to do with, a lot of people don't know what's in their racket, what they should put in their racket, and it's up to us as teaching professionals to understand string, whether we string rackets or not, to help not only the people we coach, the players we coach, but ourselves and even customers, if we're actually stringing, to know what we can put in their racket to help them really optimize their play. Okay, that's the big thing. We're there to help them, even if we don't string rackets, lead them in the right direction. And I have an interesting story about that later on. So gauge refers to the diameter, the thickness of the string before it's strung. Okay, remember it stretches when we string it, so it thins out, but this is before it's strung. So interesting little table here. You can go ahead and I'll zoom in, and let me move this out of the way for just a moment. So you can see the different gauges. Eleni, that might be, you'll see millimeters in Europe more often than what you see us. In the United States, we see the gauges, so 15, 15L, 16, 16L, that sort of thing, okay? And so those are the common strings that you see. I have never strung 19. I've never strung 18. The most I've done is 17. I don't think I've ever done a 15. So those are the string gauges and their equivalencies in diameter. And there can be some overlap. Remember, these are ranges of acceptability. So you can see a 16 gauge string that's a 1.26. You could also see a 16 gauge that's 1.3. There's a difference there. Now that might be 400ths of a millimeter, which I don't know if you can tell by hitting a ball 400ths of a millimeter, but there is a difference. So there's that range of acceptability, right? Like a range for an A is 90 to 100%. There's a range of acceptability that would designate a string to be 16 gauge. Okay, the L there, if you look at it, it's like, what does that L mean? Well, that means light. Okay, so if the L means light. YTech, which I actually sell strings for, they actually make a really good string. I just tried their triple silver twisted in one of my frames, loved it. It refers to it as light, so it's on the skinnier end of the 16 gauge. It's on the lower end of that 16 gauge, okay? So refers to as light, it means the string's on the lower end. YTech Quadro Twist is a 16L gauge string. I don't know if you're going to notice a difference. I can't notice a difference, but it's just a variation. They created this string. They found that 16L works best for this particular string. It's Quadro Twist, meaning it's four-sided for quadro, and it's a really good string. Actually, I hit that string. So how does string gauge affect play? That's the big thing. So this is one chart. Well, as you go up, okay, as you go up in number, and this is weird, notice how the 15 is bigger than the 19? As you go up in number, the gauge thickness decreases. It's a skinnier string. That means as string gauge increases, your durability decreases because you have a thinner string, and when thinner strings rub together, they break easier. They tend to break easier. That's not always the case. Depends on the player. There's a lot of other variables, but in general, the larger the number, the less durable. Now, the larger the number, the thinner the string. So as you go up, the more spin you're going to get from the ball, or from the racket, from the string, excuse me. So that's an interesting thing. So let's look at it a little differently, okay? Let's look at this other chart that I like, okay? This is a great chart. We should be able to zoom in here from Tennis Companion. Notice as your gauge decreases, right? You're increasing, look, so you got to read this, it's really funky. As your gauge increases, okay, or decreases, excuse me, your durability increases. As you go down, okay, a 15 gauge string is much more durable than a 19 gauge string because it's thicker. It's going to last longer. As you increase, as you go up, look, the higher the gauge, the more spin potential because the ball will stay on that string a little bit longer, allowing the string to bite the ball, okay? It doesn't give you spin, but it takes the spin that you have and can give you more spin, okay? So hopefully that makes sense. Are there any questions so far?
Nah, not so far. Pretty
So
clear.
bigger number, it's weird. Bigger number, thinner string, right? Or bigger number, thinner string, more spin, less durable, right? So
Yeah.
that's a good one. And I'll share this presentation with you. Not only will you get the recording, but I'll share the Prezi that I made for it too, so you have that. Whoops.
So Nadal probably uses 19 then, huh?
Yeah, right. No, he uses, I know he was using RPM and I thought he changed, and I think he's at 16. I can look it up.
16.
So this is where we get into the nuts. This is really gets into it. So part of this is, okay, string gauge. As my number increases, I get more spin, but I also get less durability. Okay, and it reverses going the other way. So string can be broken down into two categories, two types of string, and there's so many. You're either going to have natural gut, okay, or you're going to have synthetic construction. Synthetic, man-made, okay? Yes, natural gut is, we produce it, but natural gut comes from cow intestines. Synthetics come from material, okay? And so there are three common materials for synthetics. They are nylon, polyester, and Kevlar. Kevlar is really not used that much. Each material has different properties and gives these strings different playing characteristics. For example, natural gut is softer and more elastic, okay, than nylon, which is in turn softer and more elastic than polyester. Elasticity, when it stretches, when it hits the ball, it'll stretch and comes back in. The elasticity is good. So you might be thinking, what? Because that's what I thought at first. So I made this info, little graphic. String construction. You got natural gut, it's all by itself. Then you have these synthetics, right? Synthetics are nylons, polyester, and Kevlar, and there's some other ones, but I almost didn't put Kevlar on here because I just don't, it's pretty obsolete in my opinion. But notice there's under your nylon, this is your golden one, synthetic gut and your multifilaments. These are the two most popular sets of string that you're going to see on the market. They're easily produced, they're mass produced, they range in price, and that's the big one. You guys know probably polyester came really in the late 90s with Gustavo Kuerten in the French Open. That's when it was first introduced, and that was a much harder string. We've come a long way since then. But this is a nice little graphic that I have so I can understand and visually see what's going on here. This is where most people are, in the nylon range. If you're not a big string breaker, you're going to spend most of your time here, okay? If you need more, if you're a big string breaker, then you can start to look at polyester, or if you're a better player. A 3-5 woman should not be using, or a man should not be using polyester. They don't need it, okay? So let's look at, oops, I accidentally clicked on that. So string construction. This is fun. There are multiple ways in which tennis strings are constructed. All of them affect the way, oh, yeah, I can let Jared, you're not back in, let me see.
Huh.
No, he just texted me. He's like, can you let me back in? I was like, okay. Let me close. Whoops. There we go. Sorry, I got to move our pictures out of the way here. Okay. Whoops. Why didn't that close? There we go. So within those, so it's like, okay, what strings do I have? I either got natural gut or I have these synthetics. The synthetics break down into nylon, polyester, Kevlar, and another one, I can't remember the name, begins with an A. The nylon is either synthetic gut or multifilaments, and then you have your polyester, okay? So when you construct them, there are multiple ways strings are constructed, okay? Multifilaments, we're going to discuss that today. Monofilaments, that's a single filament, one thing that makes a string. Those are what polyester is made out of. Multifilaments can be up to thousands of little filaments put together to build the string. Now, you don't have to tell your players that. Oh, what's a multifilament? It's a lot of pieces put together to make one. Okay, that's why it shreds faster. Okay, you've got single core with outer wrap. Those are like synthetic guts. Okay, the outer wrap is like 21 different things for the outer wrap. You've got textured and composite, but we're not going to get into those. That's going to get talked more about in the second video that I'm going to do later on. So you have multifilaments, monofilaments, and single core. The top three are what we're talking about really. The multifilaments are under nylons. The single core is a nylon string. It's like a synthetic gut. And then you've got your monofilaments, which are your polyester. So the top three are what we're concerned about, okay? So we'll talk about the easy one first. Natural gut. Okay, natural gut strings have been around. Babolat made the first strings. If anybody ever asked you, great quiz question. Babolat made the first string construction. They were made out of sheep's intestines, which is yummy. So someone thought, hey, let's make tennis string out of these sheep intestines. Whoever thinks that, I have no idea. So they're not made from sheep intestines anymore because rackets have changed. Head sizes have changed. You have bigger head sizes, so you need more string. So now we use cow intestines. I don't even want to know that process, but there you have it. Okay. There's some really great things about natural gut, and a lot of strings are made to feel like natural gut because it's really the best string, but that's my opinion. Some people might not like natural gut. Okay, and we'll see why in a minute. The pros, great feel, great power and comfort, in my opinion, and it holds tension very well. It is susceptible, we'll look at the cons, but it holds your tension very well, where polyester and nylon don't. Right away with polyester, you lose 25% of the tension. Nylon's about 15%. And you're like, if you lose that much tension that quickly, won't you lose all your tension? Well, no, right away, it's like an exponential, right? A decay. So it'll drop quickly and then it levels off. So after a little bit, you'll kind of level off and hold the tension, right? It's not like your tension just drops until it goes to zero. The string will correct itself and you'll hit a bunch of tennis balls. It's like, okay, I'll lose some at first, then my tension starts to level off and hold. But it holds the tension the best. Okay, very durable. I love it. I use Babolat Versus a lot. I love that string. It's great. Good feel. Cons, not durable. Okay, it busts. If you're a string breaker, you don't want to use natural gut because you're going to be paying a lot of money. The cost is really up there. A string job is up to $70 to $80 to string that. It's not fun to string natural gut. If I string someone with natural gut, I actually put the natural gut on the mains because when you weave the crosses with natural gut, it is hard on that string. I think it's really hard on the string. I don't like it because I feel like they'll break quicker. So I put the mains as the natural gut now. Like I said, natural gut, it's just stressful on the string. I don't like it, so I try to put it on the mains. It's like the Federer string. When Federer doesn't put his polys anymore on the mains, he puts them on the crosses. So choices, there's several choices. Babolat Versus Touch is great. Wilson Natural Gut, and Luxilon and Signum Pro. Never use Signum Pro or Luxilon. I pretty much use Babolat. So you have to try them out if you want. You know, how good are they? It just depends. Well, so that's natural gut. It's the Rolls Royce of stringing. I had a tennis player up here that had really bad wrist pain, and so I was like, okay, let's put him on Babolat Versus. I was like, it's really expensive, but let's just try it out. And the day after he started with the string, his wrist stopped hurting because he was using poly and something else, and it was great. He busted strings every week. Not for him, but it's expensive. But he broke strings all the time. But he loved the string. It really helped him. So remember, here's our synthetics. We've talked about the natural gut was the one bubble, and now we're over to the synthetics where there's three. You've got nylon, polyester, and Kevlar. We're on the, okay, we're going to be talking about the general category and then branching off. Okay, so synthetic strings consist of either nylon, polyester, or Kevlar. It's a great alternative to natural gut, and the biggest reason, right, is pricing. There's so many different types of nylons that can work with durability, spin, comfort, okay, that you can find the string that's going to best suit your game if you're looking for comfort and you like that natural gut. There are multi-filament strings that are really good, that have great feel, that are going to be close to natural gut and not cost near as much, okay? So the advantages here, there's so many varieties out there. It can be a disadvantage too, because it's like, well, how do I know what to keep? What do I select for my players? You can't have them all. You're going to pick your favorites or what you hit with or what you're familiar with. You know, big companies like Wilson and Babolat are safe. I use Y-Tech, like them. Laser Fiber, love them. And I love Solinco. Those are my top 5. I love, you know, I try different strings. I haven't used a Y-Tech string that's bad. I love Solinco's Tour Bite Soft, which is really good. Babolat Versus. So I'm very lucky I try out string because I'm a stringer. So a lot of things go to create these synthetics. So because we're able to manipulate things, there's a lot of different varieties we can give players. So manufacturers are able to control construction and makeup, control the construction and makeup, and allowing them to control and enhance the spin, the power, durability, and comfort. And those are the 4 things that you really want to pay attention to your players. What are you looking for? Do you want more spin? Well, then maybe like a RPM that's 8-sided construction, or Y-Tech's Pentapower Twisted, which is 5-sided, or Solinco's Hyper G, which is 4-sided. Maybe you want a geometric shaped string because your player wants spin. Okay, they want more spin. It doesn't give you spin automatically. It takes the spin you have and enhances it. Okay, so those are the 4 things we like to look at when we're asking players about string. Durability and comfort, adding heat or pre-stretching for tension stability. So these are advantages. Disadvantages, I would say maybe that also there's too many options, okay? There's too many options for string. How do I know what's the best of the best? Hey, have you ever played with this one? No. How does it play? I don't know. I've never used it. And I'll link later on. There's a great Tennis Warehouse site I found after I made this on comparing strings, on stiffness, tension, retention. It's really great. So you compare different brands of string. Hey, how does Tour Bite match up with RPM? Which one's more stiff? And those are great tools to have because you can't memorize all this stuff. It's impossible. All right, so under the synthetic umbrella now we're going to hit nylon. Remember, nylon has 2 choices, synthetic gut and multifilament. Remember, we're all into the synthetic category now. This is the big chunk because natural gut was all by itself. Nylon is the most popular among recreational players, as it should be. It's cost effective. There's plenty of varieties, okay? Synthetic gut and multifilament strings fall under this category, okay? Multifilaments are many filaments woven together to make a single string, okay? All these little things come together, make the string, okay, and you get one. Nylon, like synthetic gut, is one material, one piece of thing, whatever it is, maybe polyurethane, whatever they use to make it, or just nylon, right? They take nylon to make the string, and then they coat it with something to protect the string, and that coating can affect playability, spin, all that stuff, just with the coating, okay? They are the nylon strings. So they're super popular choices. Sometimes they're referred to as polyamides. That's older. I put the polyamide in there. I'm like, what is that? It's a molecule, or nylon. I put it under here as a molecule consisting of a polymer. Oh, I spelled that wrong. It's bonded together like wool or silk, because I didn't know what that was. I'm like, okay, I need an example. So I put that in there. Synthetic gut, your low budget string. You get it in Target, you get in all your rackets, it's low budget. Okay, you get what you pay for. It's not a terrible string, it's functional. I still have a friend that uses, oh, I love synthetic gut. Some people like that, okay? But it's a great entry-level string. If people are not breaking strings or they're first getting into the game, they would use a synthetic. As they improve, then you can start working with different strings, okay? Advantages of synthetic gut is the cost. Okay, other than that, you know, Gamma and Babel Wilson all make really good synthetic gut strings. And you really can't go wrong on a low budget. It's like, okay, I need this strong. A lot of people just say, put synthetic gut in there. Well, put whatever in it. Well, you might just put synthetic gut because if they just want string, then, you know, you put that in there. Disadvantage, durability, spin, and feel. It's not going to give you anything. It's that single piece of thing, nylon, right? Single string made, okay? And it's got a coating, and that's about it. It's not going to have texture. It's not going to be geometric, like 4 or 5-sided to give you that durability or that spin. The feel, it's not going to be there because it's one string, one piece. It's made of one thing. And the durability, it's not that durable of a string, okay? It's just normal run-of-the-mill. And I always tell people, you have a piece of nylon string, flick it with your finger, and then flick a piece of polyester, and you can feel the difference in stiffness and how hard a polyester is. And you're like, man, that's a really durable string, okay? And choices, I've already mentioned them. These are top 4 choices that I would use, that I do use when I string, okay? Now we're gonna move on to the multifilament. And multifilament came out essentially because they wanted to make something better than synthetic gut. You either had natural gut, okay, which was too expensive, and then you have synthetic gut, right? And it's like, okay, you've got 2 broad ends of the spectrum. What's in between? So multifilament's what's in between. It really takes the synthetic gut to another level, and it's not on the level of natural gut, but you can really get some really nice multifilament string. Okay, these are great for cross sections if you're going to do a hybrid stringing. Okay, they really call it really it's the big brother of synthetic guts. It's the improvement. It's like, okay, we take this model and now we've made it better. Like, this is okay, but how can we improve on that durability, that spin, and that feel that we don't get from a synthetic gut? Okay, so they combine many thread-like fibers called filaments. I don't, you know, and it can range how many filaments you put together. There's not one set number saying a multi-filament string needs 1,000 different filaments to make it, okay? Not that I'm aware of. I already said it's the big brother. Was born out of a need for something better. Has fewer drawbacks and better durability. And this one's interesting because it refers to both type and construction. The type of the string is a multi-filament. The construction is many fibers being put together. There's varying degrees of quality, so there's varying degrees of price of multifilament, okay? Great for cross sections, okay? If you put a stiffer polyester in, you can use a multifilament on the cross to lessen the stiffness of the racket, the feel, make it a better feel for them, maybe a softer feel, okay? Choices, there's a lot. The most popular is the NXT line. Wilson NXT Power Control. There's NXT, Wilson NXT, and they have the NXT line, the Control, and I missed the last one, NXT Control. I just said it. Babolat Excel is another one. Babolat Excel is super soft. Solinco Vanquish, I use that. That's a nicer string. In my opinion, the Excel is the softest. I do like Laser Fiber 2.0. I use that too. I break that more quickly than the other ones. But for me, the softest 2 on there, Laser Fiber 2.0 and the Babolat Excel. Any questions so far, you guys?
I'm good.
Good.
So good.
So those are your 2, if you're going to make a living on stringing, your nylon and your multifilament. So if you're going to start stringing or you're already stringing, you want to say, okay, I don't need to carry Wilson, Babolat, Gamma, synthetic gut. You probably want to carry maybe Wilson and Gamma and a 16 and a 17 gauge, okay? Then you want to start getting some multifilaments, and you don't need 20 of them. You pick a few. And that I'll put that Tennis Warehouse thing on there for you guys, because if you compare multifilaments, and you have Babolat this, Babolat Excel, and Wilson NXT Control, and you're comparing them, and they have almost the same stiffness, the retention, the spin potential. You don't need to necessarily carry both of them, right? You will have an inventory, but you don't always have to carry the exact same thing. You want to have some varying levels there, okay? Now we get to the polyester, okay? And polyester, we talked about Guga doing this, and it's the most popular string on tour by far. You should not be using this if you're under 4.0. I sometimes question the level if you're a 4.0. And like right now, I'm 39, and when I turned 35, my USTA level dropped to a 4.0 just because of my age. I don't feel like I'm a 4.0 player. I certainly can handle using polyester, and I do. It's very rare that I string my racket with just a multi-filament because I pop strings. Bing can tell you he pops strings a lot because I spent probably half my life stringing his rackets. And we definitely should put full poly in his. So
Definitely.
yeah. So be really careful. The advantages, I've said, super durable, really durable, spin and control. It's a durable string. You'll see things now that are co-poly. Polyester is a hard string. So when you see co-poly, what companies are doing is like their outer wrap of the polyester, they're trying to add things to it to make it softer because it's a harder string. That's why you see that co-poly. It's made of a couple of different things. It is the polyester. It is that monofilament. Polyester is monofilament. One thing that makes it, it's polyester, right? But when they wrap it around, when they coat it, they're coating it with different things, different combinations of things to try to soften the string, try to make it more durable and more spin. Now, geometric strings, the more than that monofilament is smooth. It's all the way around like a circle, very smooth all the way around. When you get into spins, strings that spin, when they have shape, right? We're taking out that monofilament. It's not that single thing. We've changed the shape of it, okay? So be very careful there. So the spin strings with polyester, just imagine how many sided it is. I've seen 3 through 8. Basically, it's like geometry class, right? I'm waiting for a 10-sided, a dodecagon string. Oh my gosh, it's I believe oh God, is it a 20? I haven't taught geometry in so long. I'm a math teacher. I can't remember what side it is. But basically, after 10, we call it like 16-sided string, like a 16-gon. I don't think we're going to see a 16-sided string because there'd just be too many. It'd be interesting. I don't even know if they can make it. Solinco Hyper G Tour Bite are popular. I like their confidential. I've been moving more towards Solinco, and I like the string. But that I just strung my 2 rackets I have with Y-Tech, and I just like I got some string. Let me try it, and I loved it. Matched it with Solinco Vanquish, and it was great. So there's some good advantages: spin, control, and durability, and it just varies with those depending on the type of string, right? I have to look it up. I don't know what RPM does for durability. It'll say, oh, is it durable? Yeah, it's a polyester. It's probably going to be pretty durable just based on the construction. It's a harder string. Control, yeah, it's, it gives you more control depending on which type of string. But I don't know if RPM blast or RPM rough is going to give you more control. RPM rough, meaning, I can't remember how many sided. Maybe it's 8-sided. It's coated in something. They have Tour Bite rough. Tour Bite itself is monofilament. Tour Bite rough is like twisted, I think, a little bit. That's the way it feels to me. I don't know if one of those is going to give you more control than the other. Maybe the rough will, because it'll give you more spin, maybe land more balls in. I'd have to look that type up, the testing on that. You're not expected to know it. You're not going to know, well, this string's more durable than that one, because it depends on the player, right? Bing breaks strings more than I do. So maybe he breaks Tour Bite faster than I do. And I'm like, hey, Tour Bite's really great for me. Maybe not so much for him because he's a string breaker, right? So it depends on the player, the level, a lot of things. And disadvantages. Tension stability, definitely arm and shoulder issues, okay? And we can go back, I guess the only thing that would change in the durability, you guys hopefully remember, is when we go back to the beginning, string gauge. If you took a tour bite 16 gauge and tour bite 17 gauge, technically the 16 gauge should be more durable. Is that always the case? Well, no, it's not. But technically on spec wise, it would say this one's thicker, it should last longer, but that's not always the case. So just be careful of that. Okay, so Kevlar. I put this in here because, oh, I'm sorry, I missed the choices. These are some really popular choices. Laser fiber JB100 with James Blake, very similar to Big Banger. He used Big Banger his whole career, and then he made his own string with laser fiber. Hyper G, super popular. They're coming out with a Hyper G soft. That's going to be hitting the market, and somebody you know may be getting a sample of that.
Oh man,
where's Jared? Jared's on here. I might not. I don't know how many I'm getting. I don't know if I'll share it, but I might if I get two. We'll see if I get any. Those are some choices. Those are popular choices. Carry some of the popular string if you're going to string. I like to carry off brands because I'm a small mom and pop shop. So Kevlar. What I hated about Kevlar is when I was in high school, I bought a racket that wasn't, I don't think, suited for me now that I look back. And I would string with Kevlar because it was what they put in bulletproof vests. And I thought that was really cool. So that's why I picked Kevlar. Hey, put the Kevlar string in my racket because it's cool. It's in bulletproof vests. And I've never had as bad as elbow pain in my life when I used that string. I was using too light of a racket and I was using Kevlar. And I can still remember to the day I get done with the high school practice and my arm hurt so bad. I was a senior that I was in my car and I had to stick shift. I couldn't shift my gear because my elbow hurt, my arm hurt so bad. I'm not kidding you. I almost cried. And I had to lean over and use my left hand to shift because the pain was so bad. And I look back at that and I think, why did my tennis coach or whoever strung that ever allow me to use Kevlar? I should have never been allowed to use Kevlar. Okay, it is super durable. Usually combined with a super soft nylon. They probably just put synthetic gut in, which wouldn't have been soft enough. It's not popular due to feel. Yeah, great for chronic string breakers, better tension stability than polyester in its use. So there are some advantages of that. Just because I used it and it killed my arm doesn't mean it would hurt Bing's arm, Jared's arm, whoever. It's not super popular, but I was using that, and this is part of why I came up with this presentation, because I had someone there, or people there that either weren't knowledgeable or didn't care. They didn't care what type of strings their players were using. I was there at the club hitting, and I had considerable damage to my arm throughout my whole senior year. I remember, my first match, my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, came to watch me, and I remember playing against the team North Muskegon. It was the first match. I'm like, okay, my arm's not hurting today. Maybe it won't. And it ended the first set. I couldn't move my arm. It hurt so bad. And I played with like all season. And I thought I was injured. Soon as I switched strings, this went away. I had no more pain in my elbow. As soon as I switched. And it's still the same. So that's why it's so important that we know about string. You don't have to know everything about string, okay? I'm not a string expert. I read all this in the last 3 months. I read all this stuff and got better. I had some general ideas. I knew about the gauge. I knew about multifilaments and nylon, but I was like, okay, let me really dig deep into this because I want to get better. And we have a responsibility to make sure our players are safe. Okay. This one's cool. I think this zooms in. Let me check. Yep. Let me go back just 1 second. Matching, so how do we match players with string? Hey, I know how Bing plays. For those of you guys here, Bing and I worked together for, almost probably 12 years. And hopefully, maybe someday we're gonna work together when I move back to Virginia. But I know what type of player Bing is. I know how good he is. That doesn't necessarily mean I know what type of string he likes. I know that he breaks strings a lot. So a polyester would be good. When I say, hey, you like multifilament, he might say, I want something that is, I need feel, Nick. I'd say, good, multifilament. You're probably gonna break strings more than you would with polyester, so maybe I would lower the gauge. Instead of using a 17 gauge multifilament, which is what I normally use in my crosses, I would say Bing, try 16 gauge. He breaks that. Okay, did you like the string? Yes. Let's try it in a 15 gauge. See what you think, because that 15 gauge will be more durable. And maybe that's how we find it. Maybe that's right. So you experiment and you keep data. But if you want to look at, generally speaking, what to offer certain players, okay? If someone wants more power, you might suggest natural gut, a multifilament, or a synthetic gut, a thinner gauge, okay? That will give you more power. It could, right? More control. Solid core, you know, that would be solid core multi-rep. I know we were going to talk about that. Hybrid, like a polyester and something with a nylon, either synthetic gut or multifilament. This one I kind of didn't like. I can't remember where I got this from. More feel. I like strings that feel good. I don't necessarily, I don't like stiff string. I like a soft string, and that's me particular. So I want a soft poly. So I do love the natural gut, and I do like multifilament, thinner gauge, right? Thinner gauge will give you more spin. It won't last as long. It won't be as durable because it's a thinner gauge, but it'll give you better feel. So you're going to get one thing and maybe lose another. Gee, I want some more. I want more feel. So I'll use a higher string gauge. Okay. But you're going to get more spin, but less durable. So it's like, do I just want that string? Maybe I try to pair it with a poly and maybe see if that lasts longer. So it's trial and error sometimes. Less shock and vibration. I hate that. You know, that's why we have I use rubber bands, use dampeners. Natural gut and multifilament, they're softer, so they take the impact more, right? If it's a stiff string, boom, it's going to send, you're going to hit that thing really hard. It's going to send the shock through the rack and you'll get that vibration. A softer string will, you know, it'll just kind of absorb more of that impact. So if someone's like, I don't, you know, and if they like less shock and vibration, if they already have a dampener in the racket, we're like, okay, well then, yeah, then try a multifilament. Again, you would tell them it's a softer, multifilament's going to be better feel than a synthetic gut. It's probably not going to last as long, but it will help with the shock and vibration. And you'll be able to tell them that. You tell them the good and the bad. What's the pros, what's the cons, so they know. Durability, hybrid or thicker gauge, that's easy. Firm feel, solid core, single wrap. You know, that solid core, I consider that maybe firm feel, polyester, okay, stiffer string, okay? Any questions on this? No, and when I'm almost done, we'll take time for questions too.
Oh, good.
Okay, how to choose a string. These are the three things you might want to look at. The benefit, what do you want out of your string? I don't know. That's tough. As a stringer, what do you want in your string? What's in your racket? It's like, okay. You want power, control, spin, and durability. Which one do you want? Most players, if you know their level, if they're not a 4 or 5 or above, they're probably not worried about durability. You probably want to help them with power and control. They're probably going to hover this way and maybe spin. You have to ask them, construction, what type of material? You want a poly? Should they have a poly? Multifilament, do they break strings a lot? Maybe a synthetic gut, and then obviously price, what's their budget? Hey, I want poly, you know, I want, you know, polyester strings and natural gut are going to be more expensive. Synthetic guts, the least expensive. Then multifilaments will be a little more, okay? And then you have polyester and then natural gut, okay? And in that nylon family, you know, when you talk about construction, I didn't mention this earlier, like a typical just, what's a nylon string? You would talk about like Wilson Sensation or Wilson Sensation Plus. That's just a nylon string. It's a little more, you know, it's not a synthetic gut, it's a little more, okay? It's just nylon. It's a better constructed string. It costs a little more, okay? But that's an example of one. So those are the big three, usually. I like this one for gauges too. So we talked about gauges. As we go down this list, you get more spin, less durable, okay? But you have some, in this one I have to look at, I like a cheat sheet. So 17 gauge, medium thin gauge, good for beginner and intermediate players who are looking for power and comfort. Then you get to 17L. I've never seen a 17L string. Best for players looking for increased touch and feel. So maximum touch and feel is 18 gauge. So if I want maximum touch and feel, maybe I would get a multi-filament in 18 gauge. And I'm probably going to break that fast. Not only is it thinner and it can break easier, It's a multifilament. So all those filaments that make the string, when you rub them together, they start peeling away and ripping off and breaking, shredding, right? It's like, that's what you see. So this is great. And you can read this thickest gauge, 15 gauge. Never use 15 gauge to string. No one's ever asked me 15 gauge. 16 is kind of, I think, like synthetic gut. It's the kind of the generic, hey, what do you have in your racket? I don't know, synthetic gut, there you go, bare bones. I think 16 gauge it is. It's by far the most popular, okay? I see some 16L, I'm using 16L right now. I can't tell the difference between that and 17 or 16. I just can't, it's too, I'm not that good, right? Maybe some people can, I can't. But this is a good thing to measure too, okay? So you can always start with the gauge. If you don't know a lot about strings, start with the gauge. You want firm feel? Let's put an 8 firm feel and touch. Let's put an 18 gauge in there. 18 gauge synthetic gut, 17 gauge synthetic gut, you know? Oops, zoom out. What not to, oh, don't use language. I don't know why I have that in there. Don't know why that's in there. But here, let me go to the references, and then we can talk any questions. This one was really good. Tennis Companion's great. I got some stuff out of here. So these were my references to where I got the info. I will message you guys. Let me go ahead and unshare this, and I will quickly go get the. Oops, hold on. Oh gosh, don't turn off the computer. Good thing I looked at this. My computer's about to turn off. Got it. Okay. That was scary. Okay, I'm going to stop this share really quick. Let me go grab this link. I'm going to throw it in the chat bar, and then I'll take questions. Where is it? I found this just a couple days ago. And I guess I could have shared my screen again. Hold on. And there we go. So here's the website. I'll copy the link here and put it down below. There is also a string comparison tool. So this is really cool. So similar strings tool. So there's so many, and I like Solinco. I love Solinco, but let's say I'm out of RPM Blast, and I could say if there's a comparison. So I go down here, here's laser fiber. Solinco doesn't make one comparable to RPM Blast. I could try, I've used Diadem, I had Diadem before, I don't think I really used it. Here's one, Head Hawk. This guy, I just strung his racket, and he's like, do you have any Head Hawk? I said, well, what's in your frame? Hawk rings a bell. I'm like, Head Hawk? Yeah, I think so. I'm like, okay, I don't have that, but let me see. And I thought Solinco, so yeah, there it is. So I got Solinco, I have Solinco Outlast, I put it in there with a hybrid with synthetic gut. And he's like, man, that string feels really good, very similar to what I was playing with. I'm like, great. So I use this tool. Then they have the string comparison tool. So this was another one where I told you that I could say, okay, RPM Blast, let's put it against Hyper-G. Hyper-G is super popular on the college tour. They don't have every single string ever made, but they have, where's Hyper-G? Did I miss it? There it is. Okay, Hyper-G 16. Both are 16 gauge. So check it out. Stiffness. So Hyper-G is less stiff. So someone says, hey, I've used RPM. It's a little stiff. You could say, well, Solinco's, I have, Hyper-G. You might want to try. It's less stiff. Look at the tension difference. Okay. 43% tension percent loss. So the RPM does not hold the tension as well as the Hyper-G. Return energy, so you can see that's higher. So every time you hit the ball, it's retaining more of its original energy than it does RPM. It's got way better spin potential, Hyper-G. And the string to string friction, I don't care about that, like whatever. So they're both polyester. So this is really neat. Okay, 43% tension loss. Okay, so that's huge. So those are things you consider. You're not expected to know all this off the top of your head. There's no way you can know this. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, let me go copy that into our board here. Whoops, I'm going to stop the share here. And go to messages. There's that link. Okay. So there's that link in the chat bar for you. Yeah, Bing, I didn't know there was a 19L. Never seen that before in my life. It's like, hey, do you have any 19L? No, I don't. 16, 17, and 18 is what you're going to see. Do you guys have any questions? Go ahead. Don't forget to unmute yourself.
Nick, have you used Hyper-G before?
No, I have a couple sets, and I have not done that. And I've got the blades now. I'm hitting against. I just got those, so now I can beat Jared. We're gonna hopefully play this. Like two-thirds of you regularly beat me on here all the time in tennis, so it's kind of great. So I just got. What's that, Jared?
Bing has a question about Hyper-G. I have played with Hyper-G in the past before. Yes.
Oh yeah.
How do you like it?
I liked it at first, but then after I kept hitting with it, I just realized it had like no feel of it. Like I couldn't feel the ball coming off my strings.
Okay.
As much as I liked it to, so I switched over to Yonex Polytour Pro, and I really liked it a lot. So.
Yeah, I have not hit with Hyper-G. So, like for Jared, if he said, "Hey, I don't really have that feel," and if let's say he's like, "I really like Solinco," we might try an 18. Like you might order an 18 gauge for him and say, "Well, try this in an 18 gauge." But then the trade-off is like, "Well, Jared, you're probably going to break strings quicker, but try it out and feel that 18 gauge. See if that does it." And if he's like, "No, I don't want to," he might say, "Well, I don't really want to break more strings just to have that firm feel. I can get another string in that same gauge that's going to give me better feel." Do you know what I mean? So there's just
Yeah.
Yeah, I've strung for a lot of guys that use Hyper-G a lot, so I always just have a reel of it around because kids, like I string for some guys in my college team, and I string for some local guys around here, and like 80 to 90% of them are using Hyper-G. So it's just always nice to have around, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Wow.
It's super popular. Hyper-G is super popular. It's by far Solinco's most popular string for sure. They just came out with Confidential. I haven't hit with yet. So when I bust some of these strings out, I'll start sampling other things. But right now I have this Y-Tech triple twisted, silver twisted. I'm like, it does. It's it stays on the racket. I feel a little bit longer, has a nice feel to it. Like it's comfortable. And for me, that's important. I like feel. I don't like a stiff string. And I felt when I used Tour Bite, so that guy told you, I strung his racket and he's like, "I don't like this at all. It's too." So I was like, "Well, what's the deal?" I'm like, "I really like this string." So I went ahead and put it into one of my demos, and I went out there. Sure enough, I started hitting with it. I'm like, "Boy, this is really stiff." I could hit with it. I didn't like the feel. I just felt like it was too stiff. And so I was like, "Hey, I know what you're talking about now." And then I changed to the Tour Bite Soft. And I think you can compare them. I don't know if let me go back. I'll share that. So you can go back. And so I went to this and I was like, okay, so I wanted to compare them. So Tour Bite 16 gauge, and then Tour Bite, hopefully they have it on here. I thought I did. Tour Bite Soft, there it is. Was it 16 gauge? There's Tour Bite 20, Diamond Soft 16. Okay, so it is a 16L. That's what it is. Okay, I didn't know that. All right, so look, 5% difference. So Tour Bite is soft, and so it's 5. So there's a difference of 11 there. So the difference looks like -5%. I noticed a difference for sure. It felt better. Tension loss. So the soft is going to hold tension a little bit better. And it's got better spin potential, and it doesn't have, better energy return. Okay, so each shot, every time I hit the ball, it's not going to lose that energy. It's going to going to keep most of that energy back. So I definitely noticed a difference. So hopefully you guys, that gives you a little bit better understanding of string. Talking about gauges, spin, not only gauges, but spin, power, control, and durability. Those are the big 4 things you want to think about. And that's your nylons that are synthetic and multifilament. Those are your nylons. And then you have your polyester and Kevlar. Those are all under synthetics, like man-made. And then you remember we have that just natural gut just off by itself. Your money is going to be made, and you're going to spend a lot of time stringing nylons, synthetic gut, and multifilament. And the other popular one is a hybrid with some type of polyester. So those are the big 3 you want to be keeping in your inventory. Okay. Any other questions, guys and gals?
I do not have any questions, but if I do, I'll just text you.
Yeah, go ahead. Reach out to me anytime. I'm going to go ahead and try to get this onto YouTube right now. And I'm going to say it wrong. Eleni, she's from Greece, so I think it's like 5 a.m. there now. I want to really just appreciate all of your time. I really hope you learned something. It was fun to speak with you and to talk about string. If you have any questions on anything, just reach out to me through Instagram. That's probably, I think I talked to you guys in Bing. Obviously, you, Jared, and we hit on a normal basis, but feel free to reach out to me, and I'll get this up online. But thank you very much, guys, for coming today. I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Nick.
All right, so have a great night, everybody.
Thank you.
Later, man.
Yeah.